Hey guys, welcome to your 8th HTML and CSS crash course. Now in this tutorial we're going to be talking about CSS text shadows and box shadow. So what we did here is just to create this div. So we can start all over by creating a div and assigning a class to it, giving class name first div. Now go to our CSS and we're going to grab the first div, which is the class we just declared, and we're going to add some styling to it. We're going to give this a background color of aqua, and the next thing we're going to do is to add a border to this, and we're just going to say 5 pixels solid #01010. Next thing we're going to do is to give this a float left, because we're going to have multiple divs. Also we're going to add let's say, okay, we're going to add, let's see, okay, so we're going to add a padding to this padding, and I'm going to give this a value of 100 pixels. Next thing we're going to do is to, okay, go to your HTML, and in this div we're going to have a text saying hello world. So open this with your live server, right click and open with live server, and also make sure you save your file. Save. Now let's go to our browser. Okay, you can see the text over here, and you can see the div. Okay, so now the next thing we're going to do is change the color of the text. We're going to change the font color, so we're going to make this white, which is #111. Sorry, FFF rather. And next thing we're going to do is to add a font size, because we want it to be bigger. Let's give this a font size of 40 pixels. Go to your browser, save, and okay. So now the next thing we're going to talk about now is our text shadow. So how do we do that? So simply type in text shadow, and there are 4 values which you assign to it. Now the first value is to the right, then you have to the bottom, and you have blur, then color. So let's try something. Let's say 5 pixels to the right, 5 pixels to the bottom, and we want to make this black. So save this and go to your browser. You should see the effect now. The text color is white and the text shadow is black. Okay, so let's try moving this a bit. So let's say we want to move this 10 pixels to the bottom. Okay, you can see it's moved to the bottom. And let's say we want to move this to the right a bit. Let's say 15 pixels to the right. Okay, so you can see it's moving to the right. Now what if we want to add a blur effect to this? So we want to add a blur effect. How do we do that? Now the last value we assign here is the blur effect. So let's say 10 pixels for the blur effect. Go back to your browser, save, and you can see the blur effect making the text pop out a bit. So you should be able to see that. Okay, now let's create another div. Copy this and you paste it over here. Give this class name of second div, save, and go to your browser. Copy this and paste it right here. And okay, so now we're going to try out something new. Okay, we didn't change the name. This is second div. Okay, we want to add a margin because the space is not looking nice. There's no space between the elements, the two divs, as you can see over here. It's floating to the left, but it doesn't have any space. So how do we give it space? We use the margin. So go over here and say margin, and we want to give this 10 pixels. Go over here to say margin and give it value of 10 pixels. So go to your browser and you can see the space between the two divs. Okay, so now let's get rid of this blur, and okay, so now you can create multiple how do I put it? You can create multiple effects, multiple text shadow effects. So let's say we want to create multiple text shadow effects. Get rid of this and okay, add a comma over here and say 5 pixels to the right, 5 pixels to the bottom, and we want this color to be red. So save this and go to your browser. Oh, it's not so obvious because of this font color. Let's say 15 pixels to the bottom. Okay, you can see, you should be able to see the red text shadow. Now let's move this to the right a bit. Let's say 10 pixels, and this should be 10 pixels. Go over here, you can see the black text shadow effect, and you can also see the red text shadow effect. So what if we want to add one more? So go over here, say 15 pixels to the right, 15 pixels to the bottom, and we want to make this let's use another color. Let's say blue. So go over here, you can see the multiple text effects. So let's say we want to add a blur. Let's see how it's going to look like with the blur effect. So let's add 10 pixels here. Let's go over here and add, let's say 15 pixels, and this will be 20 pixels. So go to your browser, you can see the text effects, but it's kind of blurry because we added the blur effect. But you can see the multicolor, it's kind of mixing with each other. So that's one way to do it. So we're just going to get rid of this blur and we'll leave it like this and create a new div and try out new things. So save this, go back to your HTML file, and you're going to copy this and paste it over here again. Change this to third div. Save, go to your browser, copy this down, go over here, paste it, and change the name to third div. Now make sure you always cross check with your work so you don't have any errors. Okay, so now the next thing we're going to talk about is let's try a new thing. Let's try a new thing. So let's get rid of this text shadow effect from the bottom and the right, and let's add blur only blur. We want to add only blur. So let's say 7 pixels here. This will be 0. This also will be 0, and this would be 7 pixels also. No, let's say 10 pixels. This would be 0, 0, and this would be 12 pixels. Save this and go to your browser. Okay, you can see the effects is making the text a bit, it's making the text stand out, like pushing the text forward. Okay, so now that we've talked about that, let's go into box shadow. So the same effect applies to box shadow. So say box shadow, and to the top 0 pixels, to the right 0 pixels, to the bottom 0 pixels. Let's make this 20 pixels, and we're going to give this let's make this silver, and get rid of this border because it's going to contradict what we're doing. And we're going to make this background white. I know the text is also white, but we have the text shadow to prevent that, to make the text come out. So save this and go to your browser. Okay, you should be able to. Okay, let's fix that real quick. So go over here, say okay, I've seen the error. This also should be 0 pixels. So 0 pixels to the right, 0 pixels to the bottom, and the blur effect should be 20 pixels. So save this, go to your browser. You can see it's coming out, popping up a bit here. Now this effect is usually added to web pages. I have a tutorial where I made a contact form, a registration form, using the box shadow effect, which is really awesome. I'll drop the link down in the description in case you want to see it. Okay, so now let's move on. Let's copy. Okay, let's go to our HTML, copy this, and we're going to make a new div and call this fourth div. Okay, go to your style.css, copy this style. Now this is the last part of the video, so make sure you pay attention, because this is the best part. This is my favorite part. So say fourth div. Okay, so now the next function we're going to talk about is the inset. Okay, the inset. So you can see this effect over here, but what if we want to make this div look like it's inside, like buried inside the web page? So how do we do that? We simply assign a simple value to this, which is inset. Now you see the effect, which is pushing it in, making it look like it's inside the web page, deep inside the web page. Now the contact form which I made is exactly like this very nice looking contact form, registration form, which you should try out now since you've learned how to apply the text shadow effect. It shouldn't be hard for you to understand the tutorial, so I'm going to leave the link in the description below. Now if you did enjoy this tutorial, make sure you smash the like button, make sure you subscribe, share this video with your friends. I'm trying to get to 2,000 subscribers, and I can only do that with your help. Promise to make this crash course more interesting and interactive, so make sure you stay tuned. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.